The subject today is interfering in no trump auctions, whether you're sitting in the direct seat or in the balancing seat. Does everybody know what the difference is between the direct seat and the balancing seat? Can anybody tell me what the direct seat is?
First seat following the opener.
Yes, it's the player immediately to the opener's left. Typically, that's the seat that makes a takeout double, for instance. The rule for interfering in a no trump auction is different for the person sitting in the direct seat than it is for the person sitting in the balancing seat. The reason is that responder, opener's partner, has a pretty good idea about his side's combined strength because that one no trump opening really puts opener's hand in a box. In other words, it clearly defines his hand in terms of point count, and it should be balanced or semi-balanced at least. So the responder is in a good position to haul out that double card if he has 8 or 9 points, because he knows that the advancer in that case is broke, and he thinks that the opener and he can really punish the person who has bid or doubled in that direct seat. So the rules are a little more strict in that seat than they are in the balancing seat. So when you're sitting in the direct seat and you're contemplating bidding, in other words, interfering in the opener's no trump auction there, the rule of 8 is the rule that you use. It took me a long time to figure out why it was the rule of 8, but I finally did. First off, 6 of it comes from the fact that Mel says, have 6 points. I think that's probably a good deal less than what most of you might have said if somebody asked you that question. They might have said, oh, you need a full opening hand up to overcall. No, you don't. No, you don't. The most important consideration when overcalling the opponent's no trump is shape, not point count. If I have a balanced hand, say a 5-3-3-2, I may have 14 or 15 points in my hand, but I am just putting down the green card. I have learned through bitter experience. One time in particular, I had 19 high card points sitting behind the no trump opener, and I pulled out that double card, which at that time, according to my agreements with my partner, meant this is penalty, partner, don't bid. Well, I knew with 19 and at least 15 with the opener that there were only 6 points to be divided between the other 2 hands. And I thought, well, my partner should have half of them, and I've got 19. Surely that gives us a big edge. It didn't. I had a balanced hand. I'd have probably opened a 2 no trump in that seat had my right hand opponent not bid. But long story short, there was a 5-card club suit on the dummy, which the declarer set up. And she not only made 1 no trump, she made 3. We got a 0, a big old goose egg for that board because I had doubled. I no longer double 1 no trump openings for penalty, because if I can't beat it with 19 points, when am I going to beat it? High card points are not the consideration. The consideration is how much shape you have. So once we have decided that we need at least 6 high card points, you could try it with fewer, but if Mel says it's 6, you probably need to stick to 6. Now then, after you determine that you have enough points, count up the number of cards in your 2 longest suits. In other words, if you have a 6-card suit and then another 3-card suit, that's a total of 9. Then look at your hand and count the number of losers you have. The number of losers you have goes down as the shapeliness of the hand goes up, because you could never have more losers in a suit than you have cards in it. So count your losers. We count aces, kings, and queens only. And when you never have more losers than you have cards in the suit. So if you have a small doubleton in your hand, you have 2 losers, not 3. Yes, you're missing the ace, king, and queen, but since you only have 2 cards in the suit, you're going to rough the 3rd round if you get the bid, aren't you? So you're limited to 2 losers in that suit. Now then, take the number of losers and subtract it from the number of cards in your 2 longest suits. Mel's rule says if the remainder is 2 or greater, bid. Notice it doesn't say what to bid. It just says bid according to your agreements with your partner. If you bid naturally, then bid that long 6-card suit if you have it. If you have 2 5-card suits and you bid naturally, you don't have a way to show it with one bid. It all depends on what your agreement is with your partner. If it's Cappelletti, then make your most appropriate bid according to what the Cappelletti convention says. If you play don't and Cappelletti are the 2 most common around here, then bid your suits according to the don't convention that matches what your hand has. So, rule of 8 for bidding in the balancing seat. It's more strict. If you have 1 or fewer when you have done your addition and subtraction and all this other, then Mel's rule says pass. It may be hard to do that, but if you bid even when Mel says pass, you're responsible. Mel is not responsible. So tread lightly if you choose to bid when you don't make the rule of 8. In direct seat, remember I said, responder is in a really good position to know what his side can do and will either double for penalty if he thinks you have really stepped in it. In other words, you have gone off the cliff here. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to make your bid. I mean, he doesn't really know what you have. But if he has 9 points, he should probably double. And that's for penalty in that instance, unless you and your partner have a different agreement. Now, what if you're sitting in the balancing seat? That balancing seat is the seat directly to the opener's right, or the dealer's right in this case, too. It's gone 1 no trump pass. And the auction will die if you don't bid. Well, right away we know that the responder doesn't have 8 points, or maybe he has a flat 8 and he doesn't bid with a flat 8. In the balancing seat, it's much simpler. The only requirement is that you have 2 shortness points. In other words, if you have 2 doubletons or 1 singleton, Mel says bid. And why does he say that? Well, if you think about it, where are the points here? Your partner didn't bid. Responder didn't bid. Let's give that 1 no trump opener an average of 16 points. Responder would normally bid with 8 or more points unless he's going to transfer and drop, but he didn't do that. So let's give him an average of 4 points. That means that your opponents have about half of the points in the deck. If you don't have very much in your hand, guess who has the missing points? Your partner has the missing points, and he's sitting behind the no trump bidder. It's very likely that he couldn't make Mel's rule of 8. Maybe he has a balanced hand with 13 or 14 points in it. If you have 6 points, you have just as much right to the hand as the no trump opener and his partner do. And in fact, when you're sitting in the balancing seat, the weaker your hand is, the better your partner's hand rates to be. If you have 6 or 7 points, then your partner should have 12 or 13. Now, that's not to say that opener might not have 17 and responder might have 7, and you're a little short in that department. But if you wait for certainties, you're going to grow old waiting for the right situation to come along. You have to be willing to take a little bit of a risk. And here's another point I want to make. Don't sit there and think, oh, I have 13 points. This is great. I have 2 shortness points. I have 13 points. I can bid. Fabulous. Remember, the bigger your share of your partnership's points are, the fewer points your partner's going to have. How are you positioned relative to that no trump opener? If you have most of the points, then your finesse is right to fail. But if your partner has most of the points, then a lot of your finesses rate to be successful because they'll be going into that weak hand that didn't respond to one no trump. So you need to learn how to think according to where you sit at the table. Positional stoppers change according to where your seat is at the table. And finally, I've got this in bold down here at the bottom of this first slide. Don't even think about bidding with balanced hands. I don't care how strong you are. Remember that 19-point hand I had? I doubled and got us a big fat 0. I should have just kept my mouth shut, but I didn't. I have to learn through bitter experience. So, Janet, you have a question? I see your hand up.
Yes. Would you use the rule of 8 over a 2 no trump bid?
No. I have never seen anybody overcall a 2 no trump opening.
Okay, thank you.
For one thing, the responder only needs 5-ish, and in some cases 4 points to bid. 2 no trump opening is a horse of a different color. 2 no trump openings don't have the rules regarding opening with 10 cards and 2 suits, or even opening. I think you can't open 2 no trump with a void, but I saw in a game that I was playing in a couple of weeks ago online, my left-hand opponent opened 2 no trump with 7 hearts and 3 spades, and he was 2-1 in the minors. Everyone else opened the hand 2 clubs and played 6 hearts, making 7. Our opponents played 6 no trump, making 7, and we got a bottom board. I was not sure about the rule of having 10 cards and 2 suits for a no trump opening, about whether that applied to a 2 no trump opening. So I called the director and asked, and he says, there are no restrictions except for the fact that you cannot open 2 no trump with a void. So opening 2 no trump with that kind of hand was completely okay. It's not something that I would do. With my luck, my partner, and of course you don't care if your partner has hearts when you have 7 cards in hearts, and he had 19 or 20 high card points, so he had a great big hand. But he chose to open it 2 no trump instead of 2 clubs. I found that very interesting myself, but in this case it worked for him. They got a top and we got a bottom. So I tend not ever to bid over 2 no trump because you don't have a clue really what that hand has, except that you know that there's no void in it. So now, as I said, with flat hands, just don't bid. Just put down the pass card, because part of the problem is every time you take a trick, and you got lots of points, I certainly did when I had 19, and every time you take a trick, you're going to finesse yourself. I don't care how passively you play. Once you have doubled for penalty, if that's your agreement, then the no trump opener knows where absolutely everything is. So you've given him a roadmap. So when you're balanced, just don't let on. We don't need to help our opponents when they start playing the hand at all. Now, when people first read Mel's rules and say 6 points for overcalling in the direct seat, you must be crazy. And only 2 shortness points in the balancing seat? That sounds ridiculous too. I mean, what if I only have 4 points? Should I do it? Mel did it one day with only 4 high card points in his hand. He had 2 queens, and he actually made the bid. As expected, his partner had a nice hand and just did not have the right shape hand to bid. So, as I said, the secret here to this is shape. forget high card points when you're thinking about interfering in a no trump auction. In the direct seat, the best way to counteract all those aces and kings and queens in the no trump opener's hand is with long suits. If you have a hand that has two long suits, then you have one or two very short suits. When you're short, losing tricks can be minimized because you have trumps for controlling that suit. Now, as I said, we count losers. For those of you who may have forgotten how to count losers, or maybe you haven't learned yet, you count only aces, kings, and queens, and you never have more losers in a suit than you have cards. So, with this first example, you have one loser because you're missing the queen. You don't have three losers, just one. In this second one, this is a broken tennis, and I never know how to handle those properly. I just kind of shudder when I have these, but it is two losers because you're missing the ace and the queen. With queen third, you have two losers also because you're missing the ace and king. But if you have a singleton, note, that's only one loser because you're missing the ace. Now, here are a couple of examples for your consideration here. This person is sitting in the direct seat. And let's apply Mel's rule of 8 here to see what this player should do. What do you think about this first hand here? How many losers are there in the spade suit?
Two.
Two, yeah. We have 3 cards, but we have the king, so there are 2 losers. How many losers in hearts?
1.
Just 1. How many losers in diamonds?
2.
2 more, right? Okay, so far we're up to 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we have 2 small cards in clubs, so that gives us 7 losers. Now, we have 8 cards in the 2 longest suits, don't we? So we take that number 8, subtract the number of losers, and what's the answer? 8 minus 7. I think all of you are past 2nd grade level here where you learned this. So what's 8 minus 7? Just 1, right? Mel says, don't bid with this hand. Notice it's a 5-3-3-2 hand. One of those hands that I said, don't even think about it. This is why. This is why. Notice it's an opening hand. It's an opening hand. 12 high card points. But Mel's rule says pass. Let's look at hand number 2 here now. This hand is not nearly so strong, is it? It has half the number of high card points in it that hand number 1 has. How many losers do we have in spades here?
2.
Just 2, yes. Same thing in hearts, right? The suits are virtually identical. So we have 2 in spades, 2 in hearts. Certainly have 2 of them in diamonds. And 1 in clubs. Notice the difference. The number we start with is 5 plus 5. We have 2 5-card suits. So that's 10 minus our 7 losers. The remainder is 3. And according to Mel's rule, we should bid according to whatever your agreement is with your partner. If you bid naturally, then you're going to have to take your pick of these 2 suits. But if you play Cappelletti, you can bid 2 diamonds, saying, partner, I have the majors, please pick. Or if you play don't, you would bid 2 hearts, showing hearts in a higher ranking suit, which of course means that you have both majors. Bid with 6 points, but pass with 12. The whole idea here, this is a rather extreme example, but not uncommon. The difference is shape. If you notice, all the high cards and the balanced shape in hand number 1 means it has good defensive strength. That says defend. It has one good suit and it's not even 6 cards. If I have just one suit in my hand, I really, really, really prefer it to be a 6-card suit. Now, if I could make Mel's rule without having a 6-card suit, I would do it. Something like hand number 2 here. But I would not hesitate to overcall in the direct suit with hand number 2, but with hand number 1, once I saw the 5-3-3-2 shape, I would just put the green card down and not go any further. Now, hand number 2 offers a reasonable chance for making a part score contract. There are no guarantees here. Mel's rule for interfering in no trump auctions, either one, has a 70 to 75% success rate. This is a very high success rate for one of these kinds of rules. But you must adhere to what he says to do. It is really important. I mean, if you interfere and you don't make Mel's rule, you can't blame Mel's rule for that. That was your choice. Now, hand number 2 only needs your partner to have 3 cards in one of those major suits to have a reasonable shot. Now, as I said earlier, the rule for the person sitting in the direct seat is more strict, simply because you're taking more risk. Responder knows whether he and his partner have the balance of power, in which case you're in a heap of trouble. Or if he's weak, I know sometimes when my partner opens one no trump and I have 2 jacks in my hand, I'm thinking, oh no, my poor partner, I don't have anything to help him. He's going to have to play this out of his own hand. Well, of course, everybody else in the room is too, but I still hate to put my partner in that position. When I hold that hand, I'm really glad that somebody rescued my partner, particularly if we're vulnerable. If we can't make one no trump and we go down 2 and we're vulnerable, that's 200 points. So let's let them make their 2 spades or 2 hearts or something for 110 instead of 200. I'm glad in that situation that my opponent has rescued my partner. Because remember, one no trump puts a top limit on your partner's hand. You know exactly what he has. So in the balancing seat, here, I'm going to repeat this because it's so important. It's a very important idea. The weaker your hand is, and remember, there's no minimum point count for the balancing seat. The weaker your hand is, the better your partner's hand rates to be. So get over the notion that you can't bid because you don't have enough points in that balancing seat. There are a lot of reasons why your partner might not have bid in the direct seat. Maybe he's flat. Maybe he has a one no trump opener himself. It's not unheard of. His hand may be as good or better than that no trump opener's hand is. But even if he only has 12 or 13 points, if you have half the points, like we talked about earlier, an average of 16 for the opener and an average of 4 for the responder when he doesn't bid, then you have a decent shot. The hand may belong to your side and not to the opponent's, even though they got to open first. And also, you know where the points are. You have a really good idea about which finesses will work and which ones probably won't. So if your hand is strong in the balancing seat, your finesses rate to fail because you're sitting in front of that strong no trump opener. Now, let me make a statement here that I didn't add to this slide set. If your opponents opened a weak no trump, say it's announced, and a weak no trump is anything less than 15 to 17. I have one partner who prefers 14 to 16 for a one no trump opener because he likes to open 11-point hands. He's a very aggressive bidder. The rules change when the no trump is announced as weak. In that case, you and your partner may want to have a penalty double when it's a weak no trump opening. everything changes. The rules for the responder change. You need more than 8 points to use Stamen, for instance. So these rules apply to pairs that play a 15 to 17 or stronger no trump. Some people still play 16 to 18. Some play 15 to 18. Some play 14 to 17. I would call 14 to 17 a strong no trump opener. But these rules were developed for the 15 to 17 point no trump opening. So if your hand is strong, say you have 12 or 13 points in your hand, the situation for balancing isn't as good as it is when your hand is weak. And it's all because of where you sit at the table relative to the one no trump opener. Now, here's another example. Let's say you're holding this hand sitting in the balancing seat and it's gone one no trump pass to you. I have 7 points. According to what Mel says, if the opponents had 20 points between them, or even if they had 20 or 21 or so, my partner rates to have somewhere in the neighborhood of 13 points. I have 2 shortness points. According to the way my partners and I bid, I'm not even thinking about it. I'm not worried about relative vulnerability or anything. I have a 5-card club suit and a 4-card spade suit. We use don't, so I'll bid 2 clubs, showing clubs in a higher ranking suit. Yeah, that club suit's pretty ratty, but my partner can pass 2 clubs if he has 3 clubs in his hand. This is another little refinement that I have made to Mel's rule here. When I bid according to don't, or I have one partner who plays Cappelletti, both of these conventions enable you to show 2 suited hands, and that's why I like both of them. The difference is Cappelletti has a penalty double, and since I don't double no trumps for penalty anymore, I don't need the penalty double. So I use don't because it uses double for another meaning. So if you play Cappelletti, though, you must bid 2 spades, showing spades and a minor suit. I have an adaptation that says when I bid over no trump, the suit that I bid has 5 cards in it. So if I play Cappelletti, I can't bid with this hand because I don't have 5 spades. If I bid 2 clubs here, though, if I use don't, I can bid because I have 5 clubs and 4 spades. I'll get into how partner responds a little bit later here in this session. But my rule is I don't bid if I don't have 5 cards in the suit that I'm going to bid. That means I can't bid as often as I would otherwise, but it makes life easy for my partner. He knows if he has 3 cards in that suit, he can pass. And we have an 8-card fit. So when I bid in the direct seat or the balancing seat, I have 5 cards in the suit that I bid. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but I have found that serves our partnerships very well. Now, the other thing that you need to remember, if you're the partner of the person who bids in the balancing seat, is don't go crazy just because you have an opening hand. Your partner's not bidding on points. He's bidding on shape. If he shows and don't, a double shows a long suit. Well, you can't pass that one. That instance, the advancer has to bid 2 clubs saying, tell me what your suit is, partner. If it's clubs, then he passes the 2 clubs and the advancer plays the hand. That's the only time he should bid, is if the convention you're using says you need to in order to land in the right suit. But if you bid a suit and your partner has 3 cards in it, he just needs to put down the pass card. We're not looking to get to a game here. We're just looking for a playable part score. We found it if we have an 8-card fit, so let's play it. Now, how about this one? Instead of the one that was shown on this previous slide, look at this puppy. It has 13 high card points in it. But it's a 4-3-3-3 hand. Do you have 2 shortness points? You don't, do you? You have no shortness points. This hand is a pass no matter which seat you occupy. It is just too balanced. And when you're sitting in the balancing seat, that one no trump opener is your left-hand opponent. Guess what's going to happen to a lot of those kings? They're not going to end up being worth the cardboard they're printed on, simply because that strong no trump hand is sitting to your left. Now, if you have 13 high card points and 2 shortness points, then by all means, use whatever convention you and your partner use, or bid naturally if that's what you and your partner do. Some people like to use a convention. I like to because it enables me to show a 2-suited hand. And after all, I'm bidding on shape when I do this. So it makes sense to me to use something that enables me to show the shape to my partner. Don't is very, very simple. It's one of the simplest conventions out there. It works very well in the direct seat, but it's a bonanza in the balancing seat. I have played with partners who like to use don't in the balancing seat and maybe Landy or Cappelletti in the direct seat. It all depends on what floats your boat or blows your skirt up or whatever else you want to say. I like to keep it simple if possible, so I use don't in both seats. But this is a matter for partnership discussion, obviously. The other question I get a lot of the time is, what about vulnerability? Doesn't that have something to do with it? Well, it does, but not as much as you might think. Obviously, anytime you bid over a one no trump opening, you're taking a risk. You're stepping out there and putting your head on the chopping block, maybe. You just never know. The situation sometimes happens that if you one trick vulnerable for minus and they're only making one no trump for 90, then obviously that wasn't a good deal. Once in a while, you're going to get doubled and go for a number. That's the risk you take. And if you're not comfortable with taking that level of risk, then you need to consider whether you should ever interfere in a no trump auction. But if you take that tack, you need to remember there are 1,000 ways to die at the bridge table. You can die by being too aggressive, and you can die by being too conservative. You have to find the balance that works for you and your partnership according to what your style is. But if you never, ever bid in a no trump auction, chances are you're being a bit conservative. Generally, it pays if you can not worry too much about going down. You'll go down once in a while, and you'll get a bad result once in a while. That's true of any convention. But on average, it pays over the long haul to be willing to take a chance. Now, the best time to balance, in other words, bid in the balancing seat, is when the opponents are not vulnerable. Because you only get 50 points for every trick you set them. If they're vulnerable, then you get 100. If they play the hand and they're not vulnerable and they go off, you only get 50 points a trick. But if they cannot make one no trump, then that makes you more likely to be able to go plus. Sometimes there are hands, of course, where nobody can make anything. And that's just the breaks of the game. In that case, the pair that wins in that situation is the pair that didn't bid. So now that brings me to the last part here of the lesson this morning. Which are the best systems? Well, there are 1,000 opinions on that subject. If you live in the southeastern part of the United States, you will find a lot of people say, oh, Meckwell is the best. Meckwell is very good, no doubt about it. It's the name that has been coined to refer to the partnership of Eric Rodwell and Jeff Meckwell. They are an extremely formidable pair who played together for years up until the pandemic. And then Eric Rodwell did not get vaccinated, so he was very late returning to bridge. And Jeff Meckwell has found other partners. And I think that any of you who have seen the cover of the latest Bridge Bulletin know that he is the first person to accumulate 100,000 master points. So he is no doubt a very, very fine player. And they have developed this system. It's a modification of Don't that they like better. And we have a couple of people in Oklahoma City who use it and like it. But if you play Meckwell and nothing else, you're not going to find very many people in Oklahoma City who want to use it with you. So the success of this pair, and I believe that they both live in Florida, so anywhere in the southeastern part of the United States is liable to favor Meckwell if you ask somebody there. In the Midwest, Cappelletti, or Hamilton, as it's also known, is very, very popular. Many players are like I am, though. They've given up Cappelletti because they don't ever use doubles or penalty, simply because, particularly when you're sitting there trying to defeat one no trump, and every time you take a trick, you finesse yourself when you have to lead back. It's just not very profitable usually. On either coast, you'll find a whole lot of people who like Don't. Marty Bergen developed that system, and it's the easiest one out there, I think. If you live in Oklahoma City, though, it behooves you to be able to play Cappelletti and Don't both if you play with pickup partners on a regular basis. That is, you don't always play with regular partners. And of course, the bottom line is use the system that you remember. If you have a hard time remembering a system, then don't use it, for goodness sakes, because that leads to bidding snafus, and bidding snafus are not the way to be successful. So,
Susan,
yes.
There is a question from Sherry.
Go right ahead, Sherry.
Mm-hmm. So 2 slides up, you have the example that you said it's the balancing seat and there are 2 shortness points. Are the shortness points like when you have a singleton, you get 2. If you have a doubleton, you get 1?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly right.
Okay.
It's the same as in you count shortness points here the same way you do if you're the dummy. They're known as dummy points also. But obviously, you may or may not be the dummy here. So we just call them shortness points. If you have a void, obviously you qualify for the bidding in the balancing seat automatically. If you have a singleton, you qualify automatically, but you need 2 doubletons in order to have a hand that's unbalanced. If you have only 1 doubleton, you're either 4-4-3-2 or 5-3-3-2, and that's a balanced hand pattern, so you don't qualify. Now, here's the Don't convention in a nutshell. Double shows any single suit, and it is 6 cards or longer. Following the double, if there's no intervening bid, and if you're in the balancing seat, one no trump bidder has fully described his hand. He should not be bidding at all there. Partner bids 2 clubs. This is a forced relay. The double is a forced relay to 2 clubs, saying, okay, partner, you have a long suit. Tell me what it is. Then the person sitting either in the direct seat or the balancing seat bids the actual suit. He is not asking his partner to show him what he has. He is, in effect, saying, if we play the hand, this is the suit we need to play, period. If the person bidding in the direct seat or the balancing seat bids 2 clubs, 2 diamonds, or 2 hearts, it shows that bid suit and any higher ranking suit, sometimes 5-5, sometimes 5-4. Now, let's say that the balancing bidder bids 2 clubs. Advancer has only one card in clubs, and he says, oops, gee, I wonder what his other suit is. He then bids 2 diamonds. In other words, he bids the next suit up, saying, don't like that base suit, partner. What's your other one? Does that mean you're going to have a fit in the other suit? No. So if you have 2 cards in that suit that partner bid, that may be your best spot. You have to use your judgment. If you're banking on partners having the suit that's your longest suit, don't, because he doesn't have it. The longer your suit is, the less likely he is to have 4 cards in the suit. So ask for the other suit only if you genuinely have no fit. 5-2 fits are not the worst thing in the world. Obviously, you would rather have a 5-3 fit. But you take a chance when you ask for that other suit. If I had 4 cards in both majors, I might be inclined to bid 2 diamonds. And then, of course, my partner would pass 2 diamonds saying, this is my other one. So be prepared. Be prepared. Now, the thing you need to remember about spades is there's no suit higher ranking than spades, is there? So you have a choice. If you have 6 spades, you can either bid 2 spades or you can double and then bid 2 spades. The conventional wisdom is that just bidding 2 spades is weaker than doubling first and then bidding spades. Generally, when you double and then bid spades, many pairs play that shows a solid suit. Just bidding 2 spades is often treated as weaker. Very often, doubling and then bidding 2 spades will show 12 to 14 points with a good suit. You don't have to play it that way. It is more obstructive, obviously, to bid 2 spades than it is to double, because double takes up no room. You can take your pick on how you want to handle it, because there are 2 different ways to bid spades here. And then some people have said, okay, 2 no trump is an unused bid, and don't, because 2 clubs shows clubs in a higher ranking suit. Well, diamonds is a higher ranking suit. So you can have 5 clubs and 4 diamonds and bid 2 clubs, and you have both minors. Some pairs have said, okay, if I bid 2 no trump, I'm promising 5 cards in each minor or in both minors. Not everybody does that, but all of these bids that I have starred are alertable because they are artificial bids. 2 spades shows a spade suit, so it doesn't have to be alerted. People will ask you, because enough people play Cappelletti that they'll want to know if it shows spades in a minor or just spades. So all of these bids are alertable. These ones that are a suit, but may or may not show the actual suit that the bidder holds.
The question from the chat is, if you've got agreement with your partner that you play both don't and Cappelletti, which one was it in the direct seat and which one in the balancing seat?
Well, that's up to you. A lot of people play Cappelletti in the direct seat and don't in the balancing seat. I play Cappelletti versus a weak no trump because I may want to double for penalty when it's been the opening no trump has been announced as weak. But against a strong no trump, I just use don't in both seats. I would tend to stick to one system against a strong no trump. The more complicated you make your system, the more likely you are to make an error or cause a bidding snafu, because one player thought, oh, we're playing Cappelletti here, and the other one thought, oh, we're playing don't here. And the bids don't mean the same, obviously. So I would recommend that you stick to one unless you have a very committed partnership and you play together quite regularly. The people that I used to play with who used 2 different systems were Emerald Life Masters or better. I don't think there are any Emerald Life Masters in this group this morning. I'm not going to live long enough to be an emerald myself. So I would recommend that you choose one against a strong no trump. If you want to, you can use one in the direct seat and one in the balancing seat. Don't is a huge winner in the balancing seat, though. So if I were going to do that and I wanted to play Cappelletti and don't, I would play Cappelletti in the direct seat and don't in the balancing seat.
Okay, thank you. Another question in the chat. When you double over one no trump, is that alertable?
No, unless it is don't. If you and your partner play don't and you double, then that is not for penalty. So partner should say alert. And if asked, should say shows a long suit somewhere. And then partner will either name his suit, he'll pass if it's clubs, or he will bid his long suit in that instance. So double is alertable if you play don't. Otherwise, the double of a one no trump opening bid is generally considered to be for penalty. Okay, make sense? Mm-hmm.
Yes, thanks. Don, did you have something to add?
Well, I was just saying that, if the double doesn't mean I want to set the contract, in general, it should be alerted. The exception being a takeout double, but over one no trump, a double is not takeout. It's penalty or some conventional agreement should be alerted.
Okay, so here's some examples. Here's a hand that has a long suit in it. You're sitting in the direct seat. Are you going to bid with this hand? So what do we think? We have 2 losers in spades, 1 in hearts, 3 in diamonds, and 2 in clubs. Let me see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 8 losers. And we have a 6-card suit and a 3-card suit, 9 minus 8. See, that's a big old pass, isn't it? That suit looks impressive, but you don't meet Mel's rule of 8. So if you choose to bid 2 hearts here, you're out there on the limb and I hear a buzzsaw in the background. If you violate Mel's rules in the direct seat, you're asking for a bad result. I mean, I'm not going to tell you not to bid, but Mel's rules are based on experience and judgment. And until you have his level of experience and judgment, I'd be inclined to defer. Now, what about the balancing seat?
Okay, you can bid that with those 2
losers. We have 2 shortness points.
Right.
So if you're playing don't, you would double, showing a long suit. Your partner will bid 2 clubs and then you'll bid 2 hearts. And partner is to pass 2 hearts. Now, here's another one. This hand's a little better, isn't it? Opponents open 1 no trump, and this is the hand that you hold. It's the same as the one above, except instead of a worthless doubleton in spades, you have the ace king. Are you going to compete or pass in the direct seat?
I believe you can compete with that hand.
Okay, we have 9 for our total of the 2 longest suits, right? And we have how many losers?
6.
6. 9 minus 6 is 3. So this time, Mel's rule says use whatever convention you like and bid in the direct seat. You have 2 fewer losers here. Yeah, you have more points than you did here before. So when you don't have enough shape, you have to have more points to be able to bid. But the more shape you have, the fewer points are required for you to be successful. Now, in the balancing seat here, we still have 2 shortness points, don't we? So once again, double can come out of the box. And this is using don't. Here's another one. Look at this. This is pretty terrible, isn't it? Pretty terrible hand. It has 6 points. Are we going to bid in the direct seat?
No.
No. No, no. Even on my most rambunctious day, I don't think I would be even thinking about that. This is a 5-3-3-2 hand. I don't have to calculate Mel's rule to know that I'm not big, period. In the balancing seat, we don't have two shortness points either, do we? Even though it's easier to be able to bid in the balancing seat, we can't hack it. We cannot do it. You hope your partner leads a club. Chances are he won't, but you have the potential to take 2 or 3 tricks against no trump if you can ever get the lead of a club. Now, on this next one, this is an opening hand, isn't it? We have 5 hearts and 5 spades. The opponent's open 1 no trump. What are we going to do in the direct seat here? How many losers? We have 10 cards in our 2 longest suits, right? So how many losers do we have? 1 in spades, 1 in hearts, 1 in diamonds, and 2 in clubs. That's 5. 10 minus 5 fairly screams bid at you, doesn't it? You would use whatever your partner, well, with the don't system, you would bid 2 hearts here, showing hearts and spades, saying, partner, I have both of them. I promise you at least 5 cards in the heart suit. As I said, I promise 5 cards in the suit I bid. So if I bid 2 hearts here, I'm asking my partner to choose between the major suits. Maybe he has 4 spades. Maybe he has 2 hearts and 3 spades, and we play a 4-3 spade bid. It's been known to happen. But this hand is suitable for either bidding in either the direct seat or the balancing seat. We have 2 shortness points. We have a singleton and a doubleton. Notice when you have 2 long suits, you have 2 short suits. So it's not hard to qualify to bid in the balancing seat when you have this kind of situation. You don't even need this many points, as our big remainder told us. We have plenty of points to bid in the direct seat because the points limit the losers.
Susan,
yes.
Roy has a question.
Go right ahead, Roy.
If that king of spades was the jack of spades and you had 11 and you doubled, is that alertable?
And
you'd have 11 high card points plus
the jack of spades.
Yes, you'd have 11 high card points and a singleton and a doubleton. So you could actually get with your
we don't care how many points we have. We'll add an extra loser to the total. Instead of 5 losers, we'll have 6. 10 minus 6 is still 4.
Do you alert that and say 5-5?
No, it or can be 5-4. And don't 5, it can be 5-4. There is not if you require 5-5 in both suits, you're not going to get to bid very often.
Okay, so you alert 5-4.
Well, at least 5-4. Yes, could be 5-4, could be 6-5. I mean, could be.
But you alert it.
Yes.
Okay.
Because it shows more than just the suit bid.
Roy, are you playing don't or Cappelletti, or what are you playing?
No, it would be don't.
Okay.
In these hands, we're playing don't.
All right. So it's not double. It's 2 hearts, not double.
Yeah, it's not double. It's 2 hearts here if you're playing don't. Hearts in a higher ranking.
Okay. Yeah. So even though you've got 11 high card points, a singleton and a doubleton, which would get you counting distribution to 13, you would still alert that.
Well, yes, because 2 hearts doesn't show just hearts. It shows hearts and spades.
And nobody cares how many high card points you have, Roy. This is
okay.
How many high card points
Okay.
This is
an opening hand.
Yeah, it's an opening hand, but you're not required to have an opening hand. Remember, overcalling in the direct seat only requires 6 high card points, and there's nothing about high cards in the balancing seat. I see a bunch of questions. Patty, what's your question?
If you're using don't, and let's say you're 5 and 4, but your 5 card suit is the higher ranking suit.
I don't bid. According
don't
to the
bid.
agreement I have with my partners, the suit I bid promises 5 cards. You may have a different agreement with your partner. This is just the way my partners and I do it. We found that it works quite well. Yeah, once in a while we may miss a hand, but partner knows if he has 3 cards in the suit that I bid that he can pass, knowing we have an 8-card set.
Okay. So even if you meet the rules, you just don't do it unless you're sitting five first and then 4.
Right.
Okay.
I just don't do it. You know, you can have any agreement here that you and your partners want to have. It's just that we have found that on balance, bidding that way works out the best, to have 5 cards in the base suit. Otherwise, partner knows when he can pass. For instance, if he has 3 cards in the suit, you can pass. If partner shows 1 long suit, it should be 6 cards. So if he has 2 cards in the suit, that's fine. If he doesn't, he passes anyway. We're not looking for the best contract. We're looking for a feasible contract here. And so that's why you're not bidding and then somebody else bids another suit. This is not like an auction where one of you has opened and the other one is responding, because you're looking for the best place to play. This is a case of, hey, I think we have a shot here. This is my hand. If I've shown 2 suits, you can take your pick, but I have promised you 5 in the suit that I bid. Ella, do you have a question?
Yes, I actually have 2. Well, then if you had 5 spades and 4 hearts, would you bid? You would pass.
I don't.
Okay.
Yes.
When you alert, what is it that you say? And are all of these different bids all alertable?
Well, only the ones, like for instance, 1 no trump, 2 spades. In don't, 2 spades shows only spades and is in effect a natural bid. A lot of opponents will ask you what the bid shows, because if you're playing Cappelletti, it also shows a minor. So you can either say the 2 spade call is natural if you play don't, or you can say we play don't, and in this case 2 spades shows just spades. The ones that are alertable are the ones that either do not show the suit bid. For instance, in Cappelletti, 2 diamonds says I have both majors. So that has to be alerted. But a don't bid of a suit should be alerted because it shows that suit plus another one. And you need to say so. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
You bet.
But you don't have to say the other suit. You just say
you don't
that
know the other suit, you know, and because it doesn't promise the one immediately higher. Now, in the case of 2 hearts, then that bid, yes, shows hearts and spades. It shows hearts in a higher ranking suit. But in the case of 2 clubs or 2 diamonds, it shows the suit bid plus the higher ranking suit. We're out of time, guys. I have put Cappelletti here on the next page here and what it shows. It is different. It has the penalty double in it. And if you and your partner want to use it, it's certainly well known around these parts. And a lot of people like it a lot. Thanks for coming, everybody. Hi, this is Susan. Thanks for stopping by the Oklahoma Collective's YouTube channel. Basically, this channel shows recordings of our free 1-hour bridge lessons for advancing players that we offer every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Central Time. If you would like to join us, send your contact information to the email address shown on the screen, and we'll be happy to send you the link. If you would like to follow our channel and be notified when a new recording is uploaded, just push the subscribe button below. Thanks for stopping by. Bye.